Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah, it was basically uneventful. I almost threw myself off my lawn tractor yesterday, which is another story for another time. You know, you do something every week for years, and you get complacent. You get, this is how accidents happen.
I was just going to say, that's how accidents happen. You know, it becomes a routine. It's second nature, and sometimes somebody throws a rock at second nature. And
Exactly.
It happens to be you riding that horse.
I was doing something I have done hundreds of times, and my foot slipped off the brake onto the accelerator and threw me over a lip of a hill and almost rolled the tractor on me. And I thought, oh, this is great. What a way to go. What a way to, after this glamorous and glorious life I've lived, go out on a lawn tractor. It's like, it was, but fortunately, being the fast-acting person that I am, I was able to quickly maneuver the tractor and keep it level in that dire situation. Boy, am I looking for sympathy here or what? What a way to start the program.
Really. What, your horse? Did your horse lose yesterday, or did your race car lose yesterday?
Did you watch the Kentucky Derby?
No, I did not.
I kept thinking, first I saw the first race, where they run it on the turf, and I thought, well, the Kentucky Derby has to be like a half hour from now.
Oh, no.
Talk about stretching a program out. They didn't run the race till like 7 o'clock at night.
Okay, you've got a race. How long does it take to run? I used to live there.
2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. The race ran in like a minute and 40 seconds.
So, this is like your honeymoon night,
the anticipation.
The anticipation,
Carly Simon,
and then boom, you're going like,
hello, is that it?
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it was so short. There are commercial breaks that are longer, many commercial breaks that are longer, and then they talk about it. When I hear them say, "Bill, this is the greatest sport ever," I think, for who? The horse? Because you're not really. What are you doing that's so athletic? Maybe I guess for the jockey, but that's not a job for everybody.
Yeah, I saw people play. I don't support horse racing because
it's a great sport.
Well, I understand the treatment of the horses. I don't want to sit there and go back over history, but I was in a movie that was about horses, and there was a guy. Without going into a lot of detail, I mean, the horses when there's some brutality or some really, if a horse gets hurt, unless he gets to go to stud or something like that, forget about it. It's not a happy ending for the horse.
Well, I was in a movie about great white sharks, and it wasn't good for the shark.
No, it's not. Well, they get a bellyache from some of the people they eat. The point I was
Smile,
going to say
you son of a... Remember that? Bang. Anyway, you can tell it's a Monday, folks. It's a loose program already.
Loosey-goosey.
But it wasn't... The news wasn't loosey-goosey. There was a very planned attack. Trump cannot go a day without the media doing everything that it can to bring him down.
Well, they're taking aim. If you ever sit there, have gone to a game, and they have those little those air cannons that shoot T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Democrats have that, and the media controls those guns. They're, I don't know, you call them poop gun, PC's guns. But they're taking aim and targeting Trump. Everything that they can try to throw at him, stick at him, and hit him with, they do. And, everything's a gotcha question. 99% of it's made up or contrived news where they take it and they switch it around.
Ever wonder why he even sits down with people that he knows hate him and are going to try to destroy him? He did it with Kristen Welker this week.
Well, I think they're gatekeepers to what he's trying to get to, which we might talk about later in the program.
Yeah.
Because I hit you with a theory, and I think you bought my theory.
Well, tell you what, let's do a commercial break here, and then I'll play you a couple of cuts from Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, where she tries at least a couple of times to bring him down.
Well, while you're listening to the commercial, don't forget to like and share our program.
Okay, we're back again, and Kristen Welker was talking on Meet the Press with President Trump. It was a one-on-one interview, and I think he did it at Mar-a-Lago. They accommodate these people. They come down. I'm sure that President Trump buys them lunch. He probably sets it up so they have a nice spread and the crews are taken care of.
They might have a suite to spend the night.
Yeah. And then
you never know.
They pull up their knives and try to shiv the guy. But anyway, here's how part of the interview went.
What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states by a lot. A lot of people were surprised. I said, I think you could win 4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won, actually, I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. But let me just say, so when you make these statements about, people say this, well, they had their chance at the election and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Those people are going to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope that they're going to be right.
It's amazing. Again, the question was those people or some people. No definitive so-and-so says, or, it was another vague jello question.
Yeah, who are those people you're representing?
Exactly. It's nonsense, Bill.
Yeah, but that's what they do. I saw an interview over the weekend. I forget if it was CNN or ABC. It was one of those two. And they were talking to a guy whose voice sounded like this. He was talking in Spanish. And there was a black mask with sunglasses, so you couldn't tell who he was. He was a cartel member.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And she was talking about, in this soft voice, it's really sad, all these people that are being killed by drugs.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Oh, it's terrible.
Sad.
And it's sad and all that, but we got to eat. Oh, you got to eat. That's sad. Yeah, that really is. So what do you say to America, He goes, well, we really hate this, but, it's America that buys the drugs. It is their market.
Right.
Well, you work for the devil. You create the drugs. You created the epidemic. I don't care. I don't have any feelings for you, pal.
Then she says, the interviewer says, well, what do you say to President Trump, who's I send my respect. That's what he said. The guy said, I have respect for... I thought to myself, he has more respect for President Trump, the cartel member, than the press. The press would love the guy to say, well, we wouldn't do it if it wasn't for Trump, or Trump's made this all possible. He actually was sending his respect to President Trump because, if anything, Trump is doing more now to stop it than Biden did. Biden left the door open and walked away.
Yeah. It's almost like watching Looney Tunes. And that's probably a good analogy. Looney Tunes on a Saturday morning when, Elmer Fudd is chasing the rabbit, and then all of a sudden the 5 o'clock whistle blows, and then they both walk up and shake each other. Okay, see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Okay, have a good day.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
I know.
It doesn't. Is this all just a game, an illusion?
I know, and we're the victims. We're the people who suffer because we get emotionally caught up in all this garbage.
They're dividing us, yeah.
Trump also continued with Kristen Welker. Listen.
Well, prices are already going up on some popular items.
Whoa.
Tires, strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person, and that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the price of energy. It went up to $3.90, even $4, and in California, $5 and $6, right? Okay. I have it down to $1.98 in many states right now. When you go that much lower on energy, which is ahead of my prediction, because I really thought I could get it down into the 250s. We have it down at $1.98 in numerous places. But when you say costs are going up, even mortgage rates are going down.
Well, but let me give you some examples. These are actual examples. So you're saying the prices that are going down, some prices are going up. Tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your tariffs.
Excuse me, that's peanuts compared to energy. Energy is 60% of the cost.
But sir, you campaigned on a promise to bring prices down on day
Well, I don't know. When you say strollers are going up, what kind of a thing? I'm saying that gasoline is going down. Gasoline is thousands of times more important than a stroller someplace.
But what do you say to Americans who say they voted for you because they want and they need relief right now?
And they're getting it.
Right now? What about those
even mortgage rates?
different items I just
Mortgage rates are going down despite the fact that we have a stubborn Fed.
But you said dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might, but you don't need to have, as I said, $35. You can have 2, 3, 4 and save a lot of money.
Did you just ask him about dolls? I mean, understand something, Kristen. This is the first 100 days. I mean, there are some presidencies that you're just getting the dust off the desk to sit down. I mean, he's done an amazing amount of work in a short period of time already, and for you to sit there like he's failing when you just let the worst presidency in our history go unchecked for 4 years. You have the audacity to sit down with maybe the most vibrant and most active and most productive president in our history. You guys are amazing. You're shameless. You're shameless.
There is so much to go through on that. Day one. Okay, let's start at the top of this list. You're going to cut prices from day one. Okay, that's like you going to my restaurant. I'm hungry. You know what? I'll take care of you as soon as you get in the door. You know, I've got the all-you-can-eat buffet. Here you go. Go eat. You know, and, 3 plates later, you're sitting there going, you said you'd cure my hunger from when I walked in the door. I'm still hungry. You got an all-you-can-eat buffet. Your hunger doesn't go away instantly because I said so. Day one is he's going to bring down prices.
He's made the opportunity. He's given the opportunity to them.
He's given the opportunity. So what the hell are you talking about? This is crazy. Now, she brought up the oil thing. He is bringing down the prices. He is going to hit something that, you and I talked about earlier that I think is a part of something else. But the simple fact is, and I think you watched Landmen too, and you remember they pinned out that there was a price and a price plateau that's around $60 a barrel.
Right.
Because let's just say there is, the X factor, the people that really control the oil, not the countries of the world, but the people that say that they control the oil, and they have a certain take that they want to make. Otherwise, you're not going to get new rigs. You're not going to pay for the people, the middlemen that actually go and work it.
Right.
And right now we're at that price point between $55 and $60. $50, it's not worth it for them to sit there and keep those pumps going because they're not making their glorious profits of the world. They want it to be way up high, and how much can we bleed out of the people? So there is a catch-22 here where we've got to get to that X factor.
It's
not who these people are.
It's not cut and dry. And I would say to Kristen Welker also, look where we were going with the administration you had before. Mm-hmm. You had an economy that was unchecked. You had inflation. It was going to crush us as a nation economically. Just the debt was going to crush us in a matter of years, not in a matter of decades, in a matter of years. They said, 3 or 4 years, and we would have been, I think they said 5 years, we would have been crushed, bankrupt as a nation. But you had no problem, the media, letting them go about their business or lack thereof. Whereas Trump comes in and says, wait a second, I'm a businessman. I looked at your your budget, your P&L statement, and you guys are in real trouble if we don't put the brakes on today.
Yeah.
It would have been better if we did it yesterday, but we can't wait until tomorrow.
Right. I talked about gas and oil being the X factor. The other X factor out there, and it's all part of that, is energy. We're talking about electricity. It used to be, if you look at your power bill now, you might go and, I get my power from PG&E. For me, it's UGI. UGI no longer owns the plants. They don't own anything. As a matter of fact, they send you a lease fee for the wires, a fee for the maintenance, and all of this stuff. But they sold off those plants. Who owns them? Well, another company, a big conglomerate out there. Maybe you're the X factor with these stocks that you buy because there's something else that controls everything. So getting away from oil and gas, let's go to electricity. That's the same beast. And it's just, it's like, I don't want to go into that argument, but it's the same beast under the one global umbrella that is energy. That's all energy.
There was a time in our history when the plant that generated power for your neighborhood was owned, operated, and just down the street. Mm-hmm. It literally was in the community. Yeah. But that's not the way it is anymore. It's networked around the country. They literally can route the power from different plants. They can take control, like Bill said, of the operation of different plants by distant companies.
Yeah,
it is. It's not as clear cut as it used to be, and they can also squeeze you too.
Yeah. And a lot of people. This is what Trump is fighting. He's fighting. Well, he's fighting bureaucracy. Well, you know what? Bureaucracy doesn't have a Republican label or a Democrat label or an independent label or whatever label. It's its own thing, and there's something that controls it as well. So he's having to crack the code to get to whatever that big thing is. And, like Bill Clinton, it all depends on your interpretation of what is. And, maybe he told us something that we should have figured out a long time ago.
You mentioned Bill Clinton, which reminded me of something I wanted to talk about today.
Yesterday?
No, it's just that I'm still kind of amazed that some people who I believe are obviously corrupt have gone 100 days without seeing the inside of a jail cell after the change in the administration. I don't know why people like Letitia James, for example, who I think is about as corrupt can be. It's just my opinion. But she now is talking about another lawsuit against the Trump administration.
Oh, yeah.
With other Democratic attorney generals. And by the way, the lawsuit is about impending fees and tariffs and things that haven't been set up yet.
Right.
She's suing the Trump administration for something he's talked about doing but hasn't done yet. Think about that for a second.
Who does that attack? Does it attack China? Does it attack us?
No, it attacks
Does it
us.
attack the United Kingdom? Does it attack Australia? Who does it attack?
It attacks the American people when you come after our administration.
Right. But the things that he's going after, I guess what I'm saying is there's something out there that's being protected. And maybe these Bill Clintons and Hillarys and everybody else, they have a particular dalliance.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, Bill. I think with Letitia, though, I think she's doing it to defer and deflect attention away from the crimes she's committed. She's in a lot of legal troubles now. So instead of having to go out to the media and talk about the crimes she's being charged with, the residency in Virginia and stuff like that, she can now go out because of this case and talk about the crimes the cases she's bringing against the administration. Right. It's a deflection against her problems. She's a criminal, Bill.
Yes, and what she's charging Trump with that she did before are the exact things she's guilty of. Yeah. So her charges against Trump are a reflection of her. And somebody is putting her up to things. I mean, she's a corrupt person. She wanted to. Little girl grew up and goes, I want to get out of this, this black Harlem shell, and I want to be rich and okay. But somebody took that and said,
exploited it.
You do this, and exploited it. And now, and she got her hands dirty, but in order to keep what she's got going, this person's going to hurt you. Use the same stuff you did and throw it at them.
Yeah.
But it's not working with Trump because Trump, pretty smart guy, whether you want to admit to it or not, and he's put himself in a position to where he has some gravitas, to take a Democrat word, to where he can he can withstand a lot.
Yeah.
And he is. But I don't know how much he can withstand because I don't know how big this thing is that I keep alluding to. And I'd say it's pretty damn massive.
There was something that happened over the weekend, Bill. I wanted to ask you about it. I keep expecting, I think I talked about this on Friday. I expect that Trump is going to suspend habeas corpus, and he's going to start doing things circumventing these illegal justices and judges. But on Saturday morning, he was in a bad mood, and he put, I guess, on Truth Social, he said he knows America's future is bleak if the radical left judges continue to sabotage his immigration agenda. And he said it's not just the judges on the district level that he's concerned with. He's concerned with the inaction of the Supreme Court so far, their lack of doing anything.
So are their hands tied?
Well, I think that we talked about corruption. I think the corruption goes deep into the Supreme Court too. We even talked about what's her name? Jackson, the justice who. Yeah, they said that she said that she was in Puerto Rico, I think, at a conference, and
yeah, she was,
and she badmouthed President Trump like she was a political. These people are supposed to be above politics all the time. I saw one of the justices.
Why was this conference in Puerto Rico?
I don't know. I saw one of these justices. What was her name? The first woman justice. You know who I'm talking about, back in the 80s and 90s, and I can't think of her name right now, but I saw her speak at a conference in Pittsburgh about 20 years ago, and she was a Republican. But at this conference, it was a neutral conversation. She didn't talk as a politician. She talked as an American justice of the Supreme Court. And I thought that's how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to, when you get to that level, in that position, you are supposed to discard your politics and be a neutral arbiter. Somebody who literally sits down and thinks about justice and the law above anything else. But that's not how Ketanji Brown Jackson, or whatever her name is, she's still a politician, a political, going out there attacking President Trump and the administration. And by the way, Roberts is guilty of it too, because what was it, about a month ago when these justices started to attack President Trump, and Trump made some comments. Roberts went out and posted on social media that this has to stop. Justices are above this, and you should be above this. I mean, he literally belittled the president for being upset at.
What's he afraid of?
Well, I do think that I think he's corrupted. I do believe that. That's just, again, my personal opinion. Yeah. I think he's got a problem, and I think that, Bill, this kind of leads us into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. By the way, Sandra Day O'Connor.
That's it. Thank you very much. Sandra Day O'Connor.
Yeah, Reagan appointee.
Yep. But she was a Republican, but she truly was neutral. I know this is a fact.
But things had shifted well before her. There's been something growing. I think Eisenhower gave us the first kind of look at it when he talked about the industrial complex, but I think it's bigger than that.
Yeah. Boy, he really was right on. That was his farewell speech. If you haven't heard it, it's out there from 1961, when he literally warns us that we're about to be shafted by the great military-industrial complex, and he was right on the money. He was ahead of his time, actually, with that comment.
Do you not find it's odd? We make things for war, and we can do things, and there's arguments in that and about how the economy works and all kinds of things. But, we seem to have a lot of, cross-bleeding of technology that starts here, goes there, came from there, comes here, and it goes into that military complex. It kind of makes me wonder if there's something bigger. And I think I lamented to you that I actually do think there's something bigger.
Yeah, and I think we can go there. I think we can talk about this for a few minutes at least, because it's something which I think a lot of us, even quietly, people who observe the situation, suspect there's some truth to it. Where they say where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said, no, there's something more going on. And even President Trump acknowledges that there is a deep state. Now, I guess you could define what different people think about a deep state. Is it a level of bureaucracy that is all just government employees who have been there for decades, and they control the real strings, or is it something deeper than that? Is there a wealthy class of global citizens who control governments from, I want to say,
control
afar?
Them all?
Yeah, control them all. Yep.
Yeah. I kind of wonder that, and how I kind of came up with that was a while back, but then, the other night I readdressed the issue because I was bored, and I don't watch a lot of TV, and I watched Skinwalker Ranch. Now, if you watched it, that, and the ranch and the government was there for a while trying to figure things out, and the legend of the Skinwalkers. But around this ranch, close by, they don't really talk about it, but there's a lot of military bases. One of them right out of Salt Lake City, Utah, which has the F-35 Lightning II jet, pretty stealthy jet, but there's a lot of stuff going on. There's talk of underground facilities that are only in lore that we talk about.
Yeah.
But, we've got a place in Colorado in Cheyenne Mountain that's big and strategic and been around for a long time.
And that's the one we know about.
Right. But I was watching the Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm going they're going, yeah, they were doing their experiments, and there's some kind of force that's there. And, having been into electronics, I kind of go, well, no, I have a different observation. But this Black Hawk helicopter comes in, it's not showing up on transponders, and they're going, well, that's international law. All planes have to identify. Well, I used to fly. You can turn the transponder off. It's illegal, but you can turn it off, and you can have a governor in your car, but you can take it out and speed as fast as you want, as fast as your car will go. It's illegal, but you can do it. So this government helicopter comes in, they identified it, and they traced it back to where it went, through some people.
Yeah.
And a U.S. Marshal actually called the base, and they said, we don't know anything about what you're talking about. And I'm sitting there going, how many times have you heard that where somebody in the military, and you would think that somebody that would be flying a Black Ops top secret mission,
a black helicopter with no markings.
Yeah. Would sit there at some point in time, they're retired out of the military, the U.S. government, and they might go, yeah, I used to fly those missions. Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, if they only knew. And it comes out. But no. That doesn't happen with this. It's so deep and it's secret, and it starts to make me believe that there is something out there, and that's the X factor, that's bigger than the government. And, it takes that's your bureaucracy that both the left and the right answer to, and the people in the middle ground. But if they don't, you have somebody rogue, well, that would be a Trump. Now they got a problem. They got to try to do what they can without exposing themselves to let us know, the people, that there's something bigger out there, And it's all just a damn game for whatever other purpose there is.
If they keep us chasing the ball, we're too busy to stop and look at who's really pulling the strings.
The man or the entity behind the curtain. You're probably close when you go to a Black Rock, but I don't even think it's that.
I mean, when you and I talk about why is it that Congress doesn't do the obvious when they're in power, all of a sudden they have the chance to do something that's really important, and they drag their feet. Why?
We are $36 trillion in debt. China's just as bad. Russia's there too. The biggest superpowers there are. Why aren't we eating from street corners the crumbs and the garbage? We're not. We keep going. We can keep raising that debt. So it tells me.
Yeah. Well, you would think you would think that if the government really cared, there'd be no question about trying to get their financial house in order. They'd be working night and day to do that. Instead, they go after Doge.
Yeah. So money is no object. In other words, money is insignificant to whomever this is.
We talked about Dwight Eisenhower's farewell speech. Listen.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Now, that was 1961, President Dwight David Eisenhower. He said there were 3.5 million people back in 61 working full-time on defense contracts, things like that.
Yeah.
I'll bet you it's 10 times that now in 2025.
Yeah. The military institutions, and I'm sitting there wondering, back to what I was saying, walk with me, if you will, on this one. I saw a posting for somebody that invented something. I said, it's pretty cool. It was a mom that invented something for a little toddler because she had to work from home and do stuff, but she had to, toddler requires a lot of attention.
Yeah.
We, the people of the world, require a lot of attention. So this woman, I think she was from Sweden, she came up with a thing. It in shape, it looks like this, 8 by 10 or 11 piece of paper. It's a board. She calls it a busy board. What's a busy board? Mm-hmm. Well, it hangs on a wall, and she took little household things like a doorknob, where she screwed it on there where you could turn the doorknob. She kind of laid all these things out in a kind of cool way. There was a roller wheel from a chair where somebody could spin it and roll the wheel and spin it around. There was one of those latches hooks, the little hook like a cabinet latch that was on there. There was a zipper, that instead of sewn into a pair of pants, it was screwed into so the kid could zip it up and down. All these little trinkets and gadgets and push lights and everything. She called it a busy board. And that busy board, that kid, you should go and do one thing, and then they just sit there. That little baby will sit there for hours and play with all of that. And I'm starting to look at maybe what we have going on in life
is a busy board.
Is a busy board. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a very good analogy. I think that if they can keep us distracted, keep us worried about stuff, keep us worried about different, and I think that's where Trump comes in and is driving them nuts.
And if you're a Democrat that hates Trump, I can never say anything or do anything to convince you otherwise. He is the devil. He is this. He's an idiot. Everything.
I got family members who are they don't understand Trump. They can't. Oh my gosh, they think he's I think Satan incarnate.
But and you'll always believe that because that that has become part of the tapestry of the busy board. But if you see beyond the busy board, you see what he sees, and maybe see what I'm seeing there, you might change your opinion. I'm not asking you to change your opinion. I'm asking you to step back and take a big, deep, broad look.
And while you do that, why don't you take a moment to pause and like and share the program. We were talking about how we live in a world of distraction, and it's intentional, we think. A lot of things we can talk about, but there was one little caveat that I wanted to throw at you, which I thought was interesting. Over the weekend, for example, there's this video that's gone viral. It's a young girl. I don't know her name. She's about maybe 19 or 20 years old. She's doing the video in her car, and you would think, oh, she's got to be a liberal because on all the young people liberal. I want you to hear this short video. Listen, this is like I said, a little girl. I call her a little girl because everybody's young when you look at me. And she had some interesting thoughts. Listen.
Remember this.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
You wouldn't believe that looking at the media today, though. They act like Trump is the worst, most evil person ever for deporting illegal alien criminals. Yet Obama, Bill Clinton, and other Democrats were all on board with this for years up until Trump. And they're on tape saying so.
Committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone.
Public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
We use phrases like undocumented workers. We convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration.
Oh, really?
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
We will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace.
This is your reminder that Obama deported 5.3 million people and Bill Clinton deported 12.3 million. They were fine with it then. Why the sudden change of heart?
Now, mind you, she's maybe 19 or 20 years old. Now, the people who are so critical of President Trump, a lot of them are old hippies, I call them. They're people from like the 60s and 70s, and it's their chance to protest again. Grab your sign, stand on the corner, and down with Trump, right? Well, your children or your grandchildren, they're smarter than you in many cases.
Well, they don't relate to you.
No. They look around and say, wait a second, what the hell are you protesting here? Yeah. Your side is sinking us, and this guy's trying to bail us out.
So they're looking beyond the busy board is what you're trying to tell me?
They're looking beyond the busy board. Exactly right.
Yeah, now I will say for my Democratic friends and maybe radio friends out there, the average person has the attention of the attention span of a goldfish, which is 10 seconds,
Yeah.
maybe a little less.
Yeah.
So you got that, which is why you have hit pieces in the news cycle. Somebody's delivering this. You hit these over and over and over again.
Yes.
For my radio friends, that's your A rotation where you churn and burn the hits, and then you get them out of there. Can you remember the top 10 songs from last year or the top 6 songs from last year, 5 years ago? Hell no, you can't. Well, that's the same thing that's going on with this crap cycle of news. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the busy board of life, they're keeping us occupied with minutia.
For those of you out there who listen to the program and can't understand why Trump is actually attractive to young voters, Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA, the founder, he was interviewed on Fox over the weekend, I think on Maria Bartiromo's show, and he talked about this.
Joining me now with more on why young voters stand with President Trump is Turning Point USA founder and president Charlie Kirk. Charlie, great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Your reaction, and tell us, do you think young people are with Trump because they were the most hurt by teachers during COVID, against them? Tell us why you believe young people are standing with President Trump.
Well, that's absolutely true. And listening to that clip of former Vice President Kamala Harris, I can say we're finally unburdened by what has been. It feels good that we have new leadership in this country. But when I look at President Trump's phenomenal commencement address at the University of Alabama, I feel that it's necessary to contrast that with a completely different one that Joe Biden gave at Morehouse University when he was president. When President Trump gave the speech, it was about optimism and positivity, and you could do anything when you put your mind to it. When Joe Biden gave a commencement address, it was all about systemic racism and police brutality and how America has a terrible past. It was about oppression, and it was a very heavy and sad and negative speech. And you contrast those two together, and this is one of the main reasons why we are seeing the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock, where younger people are not going to the left like they did in the summer of 1969. No, they're defying all the experts, and they're going to the right. We are seeing the base of the Democrat Party evaporate. Democrats are bleeding the core constituency. Young people for so long have been the cornerstone of the American left. They've always been able to count on college campuses as their main source of energy for activism. Now it's the main source of energy for the Republican Party and for President Trump, from the Yale Youth Poll, from the Harvard Youth Poll. And to your astute point, Maria, you're exactly right. 18 to 22-year-olds, these are the lockdown generation. They had prom graduation stolen from them. They had to wear masks unnecessarily. They were forced to get vaccines. They had many friends hurt themselves or kill themselves because of the lockdowns. They do not trust the experts. They get their information from places like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and they are now the most solid and loyal base of President Trump's ever-growing coalition.
Because they believe President Trump. They know he's telling the truth, and he's not afraid to call it out.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And they're tired of politicians that are so negative on America. They want a positive vision. Think about the negativity that they were formed in. What happens between the ages of 14 and 21 are the most predictive elements of how you view the world. They heard that the world was ending because of COVID, the world is ending because of systemic racism, or the world is ending because of climate change. Honestly, they're rejecting it. They want a positive future, and President Trump is delivering it.
It's amazing. The perennial factor, age group that goes to the left suddenly is going to the right now, and they can't figure out why. They're scratching their head. Bill, over the weekend, I guess it was Jim Acosta and Eric Swalwell, another great genius from the left, and that deep thinker Sean Penn. Honest to God, folks, maybe he's a good actor. And by the way, understand something. I mean, acting is a talent. Yes, and a good actor has a certain talent, but it doesn't make them a mental giant. It doesn't make them a genius. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you meet an actor who plays some of the greatest roles in the world and you think, my God, he must be brilliant, you find out that they're empty. It's like think of them as a bottle with nothing inside, right? And when they do a part for a movie, someone pours some fluid in there and gives it some substance and body. But by the time they're done with that part, the bottle is empty again. And that's kind of what an actor is. There are exceptions, of course. There are some actors who are thinkers, and when they actually think, many times they think like Mel Gibson or John Voight. But Sean Penn is a vacuous kind of guy. I mean, I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I'm sure he'd like to hear that. You look at him right now. I saw a picture of him, Bill. He looks like 50 miles of bad road right now. He doesn't look like the youthful character that he was not too long ago. Still smoking up a storm. Everywhere they go, they have to have a cigarette in their hand, these guys. And he just doesn't like Trump, and he wants you to know it. But he was on a podcast with Jim Acosta and Eric Swalwell. I think it was Acosta's podcast. Boy, have the production values gone down in that. Man. Anyway, you hear three disgruntled guys who don't like Trump sitting together. This is what they sounded like.
But before Bukele gets to that point where he's dealing with another leader, we should consider worst-case scenarios. And I do think it's a reasonable theory that Donald Trump is not unlike the spouse of someone who leaves him perhaps for another, who then murders their former partner because if they can't have her, nobody can. And I think Donald Trump in his solipsism may have that relationship with the world, and that this destruction is in part a power play and also a literal intention of his final out.
You think he'll try to stay on?
I think he might try to destroy the world before he ages out of life.
Jim, in the history of dictators or those who aspire to be dictators, there's never a succession plan, right? There's never, and that's what worries me is if he doesn't believe there's somebody who can protect him, that you will see him ratchet up, what he's willing to do to the country to protect himself.
Eric Swalwell there. Eric, how is Fang Fang doing? The Chinese communist spy that you were cohabitating with, unbeknownst to your wife and family. I mean, these are. I don't know why they're not Penn. Penn's just. I think of the song by the Little River Band, "Lonesome Loser," but Eric Swalwell. I mean, he literally was probably passing along information to the Chinese while he was, messing around with Fang Fang. I mean, yet he still gets out there and they throw this garbage at the president. And when you hear Sean Penn talk, he sounds like he's reading a bad movie script. When you hear him talking, well, it's like a husband who he can't get his wife to come back home, and he decides he's going to take everybody out. And it's like, are you kidding me? You've been reading a lot of lousy scripts. By the way, I checked the International Movie Database before we started the show. The guy hasn't had a hit movie in some time. He's done a lot of work. He keeps busy, but they're in films that I never heard of. Maybe they have some audience somewhere in the world, and maybe he's making some money off it, but they're not the blockbusters. And this is a guy who, he never has something good to say, but they pass him off, Bill, like this substantive big thinker. Your mic is off, Bill. I only say that because I know you were talking. I saw your lips moving, but you weren't saying nothing. No, I still can't hear you. Oh, yes. Let's try that again. Maybe it's my end of the... Is it my end of the...
Yes, it's your end.
Up?
It's your end.
Well, let me just slap myself. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Sean, I mean, he's showing how shallow his mind is. He doesn't have a thought of his own, and whatever he does, it's vacuous. If he does have a thought, what he just said there was so
dumb,
profoundly stupid. They're going to have to rewrite the English dictionary and have a new definition of stupid.
Bill,
put his picture there.
Would it be an appropriate time to play this?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And may God have mercy on your soul. Oh, God.
Well, yeah. See, but sadly, a lot of the left don't believe in God.
That's true. That's very true.
So nobody's here to have mercy on your soul. And you know what? You're proof that hell does exist because you're creating hell on earth. Thank you very much.
You know, I know a guy who he almost brags about being an atheist. Brags about, and I think to myself, why is it so important for you to be so dramatic about your belief system? You think, and by the way, how many times have you heard there are no atheists in a foxhole? Because usually when push comes to shove, and they're down to the wire as far as life is concerned, they reconsider their stance on theology. It's amazing. But anyway, Bill, you're right. Sean Penn is an empty suit, but yet he finds a platform because he's Sean Penn.
Well, yeah, he's got a name, and that's what they do. They pull out their star power, and whoever's writing that script, they need to rethink about it. But you know what? I mean, there's crazies on the left, there's crazies on the right. One of the things that scared me about the audio you played, where they're saying the young kids are coming over to the right. All right, let's. For the longest time, they said the Democratic Party is the oldest party there is. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that party, self-destructs. It implodes. It goes away.
Right.
So now the big party is the conservative party. Where did all those loser Democrats, those loser-crats go? Well, they might be independents, or they may become Republicans. Party.
It's sort of like Texas, right? The state of Texas, for the longest time, a very conservative red state, and then
blue state before.
Yeah, but then California turned to doo-doo, and I'm talking about within the last 20, 30 years. But California turned to doo-doo, and so a lot of people figured, I got to get out of this state. Where can we go? Well, we can go to Arizona, and we go to Texas. And they all went to Arizona and Texas, some to New Mexico, and they brought their leftist values with them. So now you have places like Austin that are blue, solid blue. And you have Republicans in Texas, by the way, Bill, who in many cases are Republican in name only.
Yeah. Look, I lived in Texas for a short time. And, the allure of everything's bigger in Texas is a bunch of crap. But you go there, and it might seem, you look at all the traditions and everything, just the history of it. It's kind of a cool place. But I can tell you about Texas, one observation, because of 911 and things when I was there, moved out. And then I said, well, I ought to go back to Texas, I had property there and everything. Let's go back and revisit. The old saying that warmed over coffee is never good the second time around.
Yes.
Texas is below that.
Wasn't there a song, "Oh, my exes live in Texas"?
Well, yeah, that's a different story, and I don't want to go down that path.
I don't blame you.
And they don't even live in Texas anymore, or Tennessee.
My exes live in Texas. So yeah, Bill, I think that yes, a lot of the Democrat Party right now is in dire straits. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has been on a tour going around yelling at President Trump and also at Tom Homan, too. And I haven't got the audio, but recently, I think it was this weekend, she went on stage on one of these tours and challenged Tom Homan to arrest her because she was going to give all of the information that she has to the illegals so that they can stay here. She's going to tell them how to beat the ICE.
Why?
Because she's on their side, not on our side. Well, I think she figures, in all honesty, that she can't be arrested. I think she figures that she's untouchable because she has people behind her. The left is behind her. And she literally came out on stage this weekend and said, people say I shouldn't say this because Tom Homan may come and arrest me. I dare him to come and arrest me. I dare him. Do I look afraid, she said. Well, I wonder how she'll feel when they come by and put her in handcuffs. I think that Homan was asked this on one of the shows over the weekend, and he said, well, we have the Justice Department looking into whether or not she's broken any laws, and if that's the case, we may accommodate her. Something along those lines. So,
yeah, I'd be careful, though, because that sounds like a staging setup to me.
I was going to say, does she want to use this as a badge of honor?
Yeah, one email I didn't share with you that we got through it'sanotherday.com, and right. I think I shared another one where there's a Chinese company that claims they own the name. It's like, I don't think so. We've had it for a while, and those words have been used several times before, but we have the domain. But here nor there on that. This guy was getting a hold of us going, well, you guys got a great show, and we'd like to be a part of it. So I listened to his diatribe for an hour, and he seemed like a pleasant older guy and was really articulate and had some great zings and everything. And then, because he was down on the Democrats, but he was down on Republicans too. And I said, where's this guy going? And then he got there because he was talking about going back to the war machine that cranked up in World War II and tying it to the economy and different things. And what he was saying is, we had to shut down everything to sit there and make the war machine, which meant that to get the things that we wanted, that we normally wanted, we couldn't, so the prices went up. And then he was talking about the free market system doesn't work in the global society. I'm going, so what are you going for? Oh, socialism. And there's a push for it. And AOC is the socialist queen, and Democrats are kind of embracing that, which is a far cry when they talk about their democracy.
Was this guy trying essentially in a thinly veiled attempt to get us to put a socialist on our show?
He's the socialist, yeah. Actually, I filed that.
And he doesn't listen to our show, Bill. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they do, and they want to get in and infiltrate it. If you notice, we've had guests on here. I think two, live guests, and those are people
915 or 16 shows or whatever it is. Yeah,
and they were personally vetted.
Yes,
because I know the heart, and I knew who they are and what they represent. And I mean, we're afraid to even take conservatives and put them on because they might be woke and they might go, wait a minute, that's nothing of what we talked about.
That's exactly right.
And the same with Democrats. And I thought about this the other day. Well, you're a diehard Republican. I'm Republican in name. I'm not Democrat. I'm not liberal.
I would say
American.
You have to understand something. Where we live, in order for us to vote in a primary, we have to declare a party. Yeah. If I lived in a state that allowed you, like Massachusetts, to vote in a primary, I think in Massachusetts you can be independent and vote for either party in the primary.
Yeah, and see, that's a hard thing to do because I don't want any label on me.
I don't
I'm
either.
an American citizen. That's it.
I would prefer to be.
I'm registered to vote. That's
I would prefer to be independent. I really would.
I'd prefer just to be Bill Knight.
Yeah,
Bill Knight, you're registered to vote. What are you? None of your damn business.
Well, independent is essentially you're not in a party. I think some of them refer to it as unaffiliated, which is fine too. I would prefer that because I do not walk in lockstep with the right because many times the right leads me down a bad path. It goes. They think that they're the only option, and they're not.
No. Hey, look, I could sit there and go to my phone right now, and if Trump is listening or anybody of note in the Republican Party, whoever controls 81801, I'm getting sick and tired of some of these texts that I get. And there was one that really threw me off yesterday. And I forget what, I can't remember what it was, but some of these things that they are sending out, these stupid things are they all just want money.
Don't you love how they the phone companies say, well, you can block them. Yeah, and so you block them, and
they come back as a different number.
different number. Exactly. Like 2 days later, they beat the system. So I want to take a pause and remind you that you can like and share our program. Like and share. It's another day. Tell your friends what we do here. We really would appreciate it. We have an audience that is growing in leaps and bounds. I know that may be hard to believe, but it's the truth. We have people around the world who listen to our program as far away as places like New Zealand and Australia and even Japan. And we have people in Ukraine listening and Russia. Honest to goodness, we have people all around the world who have found the program. I don't know how they do it, folks, sometimes. I think, how do they find us? And obviously when they find you, they stop for a few minutes and listen. So we appreciate it no matter where you are. And please, we would like to grow the show, continue growing the show. Tell your friends about our program right here.
You know, one of the things I was saying about the text, it's Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Have my texts been getting through? Well, no, they haven't, Mr. Trump, because you didn't send that.
That's right.
A money-making arm of the Republican Party did, if you go and read the fine print. I got them from the left, too. Everything that they do is a rehash cycle over and over and over again about from 3 or 4 different numbers, 20 or 30 times a day. And, I delete them, I block them, but then they come up with new numbers. And for my, for those people that run the Republican text and for the Democrat text, go to hell. I don't want to hear from either of you. Go straight there.
Do not stop at go.
Just go.
Yes.
Get out of my life. I don't want you. I mean, I support Donald Trump. I support conservative values. I do not support every Republican. I don't support very many Democrats. There are a few. But I have my beliefs of what I think American democracy is. So don't tout your belief in my face and tell me that's gospel and that's the only way to go.
We were talking about how young people are deciding to go towards the right, go towards conservative American values, as opposed to just walking in lockstep to the left and their ridiculous, vacuous, empty diatribe. Last week, you might remember that President Trump signed an executive order defunding NPR and PBS, and of course, the left. So many, by the way, of the people who are have gone to the left listen to NPR every day. They wake up and they listen to NPR. I get my news from NPR because it's neutral. Don't you think so, Reginald? Yes, of course it's neutral. That is how they are, all right? I know some people like this, all right? They get their news from National Public Radio, and they watch their programs on PBS. I have to admit sometimes I watch some shows on PBS, but they're usually like mysteries from England or something like that.
News from NPR is like cheap wax toilet paper.
Thank you.
I'll leave it at that.
It's more, in my opinion, it's more like sanding paper, as opposed to. Anyway, PBS had Nancy Pelosi as a guest on one of their shows. PBS this weekend. I want you to hear the host. I want you to hear this unctuous, fawning host.
Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Thank you. You might not be able to hear it, but there's a lot of applause in the room here for you.
Thank you, PBS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. Thank you. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
See, he almost called her the Speaker of the House, even though she's not anymore, right? But You probably can't hear it, Speaker, but there's a lot of applause here in our studio for you. They're probably all PBS employees. This is not what it was set up for. People don't realize. I'm old enough to remember when they started NPR and PBS, and I remember that it was set up to be neutral, basically educational. It was supposed to give people a glimpse into the cultured life. People who normally wouldn't see orchestras and symphonies and things like that, a great drama, they would see it on PBS, and they would cover, if they did news programs like McNeil-Lehrer Report or something like that 30 years ago, they tried to be, for the most part, they tried to be down the middle. Not anymore. It's just a liberal sanctuary. It's a place where every leftist can run to and get a slap on the back. That's what NPR and PBS do. When you listen to their shows in the morning, you listen to NPR. I don't know, Bill, have you ever listened to NPR in the morning? They all have
maybe about 2 minutes, and then
they have a definitive way of talking. You know,
they do.
Welcome to NPR.
2 minutes of that, and I'm done.
Let's go to so-and-so and discuss what's happening on Capitol Hill. Let's find out the true story from our trusted correspondent who has the inside scoop that no other reporter on the planet has at NPR. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But believe me, there's a faction of people out there, and I hate to say it. I know this is going to sound like but a lot of the people who fall for that nonsense are some of our most educated people. And I say educated, I put it in quotes because they've gone to the most prestigious schools. They've gone to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Brown. These are the schools they go to. And you didn't. My God, I went to Harvard. I went to Brown. Did you really? How were things at Brown? Well, they weren't as good as my friends say it was at Yale. But my God, can you imagine how bad it must be if they have to go to a state school? Oh my God. Anyway,
I don't know. I still take a shower and brush my teeth the same way that I was learned to do with or without an education.
That you were learned to do? That you were learned to do?
I was learned to do.
Yep.
And then I still dress the same way. I still have my favorite foods and not favorite foods, and your toity education that you talk about has nothing to do with going through the school of life. Education is a good thing, but it is not a badge of honor.
Well,
and
let me ask you a question. What college did Abraham Lincoln graduate from?
School of Hard Knocks?
I think so.
Yeah.
What law school did Abraham Lincoln graduate from?
School of Hard Knocks.
I think so. Yeah, he actually apprenticed his law degree, and he was more of a common guy. He was more of a regular man. He understood what was happening on the street. Donald Trump, amazingly, I find this amazing. He went to Wharton Business School, which is an Ivy League type school, and you would think he has all the credentials, but he was also the kind of guy, you don't hear this, but there are stories. He would go up on a construction site on a building that he was building at lunchtime, and he'd sit with his crew and have lunch with them with a hard hat on and talk about the different things that were happening on the site and how were things with the family, and got to know the people who were working for him.
Well, Jim, you know what that's called?
What?
Research.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yes.
So for lunch, hey, I'm going to have lunch with you guys. Oh, I brought you some lunch too.
Yeah.
Because he does that.
Yep.
It's research. Wharton School of Business. He did very well at Wharton School. When all these economists, come around and do things, and some are from Wharton, some are from different colleges.
Sure.
Not a damn economist can agree about anything unless it is following a politician's Democrat narrative. And then they'll bend the rules for that. So I'm like going, you know what? Give respect where it's due.
Yeah.
And give it a chance, because they're poo-pooing it from day one. But, they did that to Ronald Reagan, too, and they like to go, well, he's no Reagan. No, he's not a Reagan. But he does Reagan-esque things, like Remember Reagan sat there and said, we're gonna take these old battleships out of mothballs and take them out and use them again because they were big, impenetrable, and I can't talk because I got a feeling I got to go get fixed. But
I think you're doing a pretty good job. They wouldn't have known if you hadn't said that, but it's true.
Well,
the guys are
I'm
working
having a hard
with
time with it. But either way, he brought those back, and they were brought back for a rhyme and a reason at a time that they needed to be brought back. Trump is going, you know what? I want to reopen Alcatraz, redo it, refit it for the worst, the bottom of the bottom prisoners. And I thought, why does he want to do that? And I'm going, well, actually, Alcatraz is the prime location. It is a good thing, so it ain't a bad idea because we need to start locking people up instead of, well, you murdered. Okay, somebody murders somebody, all right? And a liberal judge comes along, you know what? You've been locked up for 12 months, and we haven't gotten to time served. You're out of here, all right? You can go and get a traffic citation, argue with a cop, and end up in jail, and you're going to get fined to the max and everything else. The justice system is corrupt. It is stupid.
I want to tell you about the justice. We were talking about how people are changing their politics. Former Los Angeles County Sheriff Alec Villanueva, who served in office from 2018 to 2022, was a speaker at an event in L.A. on Saturday when he called the attention of the cameraman at the place to stop what you're doing and make sure you have your cameras rolling for what I'm about to say. Listen.
As of today, if you have cameras, get them rolling. Share this on social media. As of today, I'm leaving the party of paid protests, purple hair, and pronouns. I'm joining the party of faith, family, and freedom.
Now, I know it was kind of hollow, and I know it was a little echoey, and you might not have heard it very well. So let me tell you what the former L.A. County Sheriff said. He said, if you have cameras, get them rolling. As of today, I'm leaving the party of paid protests, purple hair, and pronouns. Mm-hmm. He said, and I'm joining the party of faith, family, and freedom. It's time to make California purple again. So I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who, I think he spent 40-some years as a Democrat. And he's had enough. And he wanted the world to know it.
Yeah. And you know what? Purple's a good color. Now, the interesting thing is, in Maine, I forget the name. I don't have the story in front of me. But it is a teacher that is calling for the execution of Trump and his followers, meaning anybody that votes for him or like us.
Did he lose his job?
Well, we do a show.
Did he lose his job, Bill?
No, not that I am aware of, because I read that yesterday. I was going, if I did something like that, calling for, and I'm not even going to mention a name because for referencing as an example in a news story, I would be arrested. And, I got a lily white, clean, record, and I don't want to tarnish it for something stupid.
He must have called in his diatribe. He must have called for the demise of the president, too.
Yeah, he did it on X.
Well, I think maybe he should be a visit by the Secret Service would be in order, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, but, the news is probably sitting there going, have somebody stationed there, because when he gets a knock on the door, we want to be there with the cameras and show the injustice. He was just speaking his mind. It's freedom of speech.
Oh, gosh. So, we had planned, by the way, to talk about globalism and how it may be affecting our country. And I think maybe I don't want to waste the topic, so we can mention it a little bit here, but I think we should talk about it some more tomorrow, don't you think? Unless something major happens.
Yeah, unless something major happens. I mean, but, when you talk about globalism, I guess, we need to preface that. We need to set that up in the fact that it's not globalism like you think. It's deeper.
It's
and
the
darker.
deep state.
Mm-hmm. And and deep state may not even be big enough to talk what we're talking about. We kind of alluded to it today. If you listen to the show and listen to this point, you heard the reference, and my feeling for me being there, you talk about AI, the sum total of all knowledge. Well, I'm just going by, I remember things. There's some things I'd like to forget, but I remember things. And when I sit there and put them all together like pieces to a puzzle, the pieces don't all fit the way that you think they should fit. And what you get is something entirely different.
Do you trust AI?
To a degree, because
I'll
it has
tell you
been programmed and things are. I could go back and show you where things have been scrubbed about certain people here recently, and AI counts on what's out there.
If you look at your iPhone, or you look at your Android phone, I would imagine, and you open your Google browser, can you? Do you have Google on your phone?
Yes, I got Google here. I got it on this the computer we're on. Let me go to it.
Go to open up your Google browser. In the upper left-hand corner of mine, there's it looks like a little bottle with a fluid half in it, like a vial. Do you see it on yours?
Well, I'm trying to get to I've got so many things in my phone. I'm just going to pull it up here. I'll go here.
I don't think you'll see it on the Google browser on your website. The point is this: if you touch that little vial, it says, "Introducing the AI Mode Experiment, a new search experiment that uses advanced reasoning, thinking, and multimodal capabilities from Gemini 2.0 to answer even your toughest questions." And on the surface, that
seems good.
That sounds amazing. That sounds, my God, it's like having a personal, intelligent aid right by your side. But then I'm thinking, the phone hears every damn thing you say, right? It does.
Yeah.
If you don't think that's the case.
So that's the experiment, Jim.
Yeah.
It's using that as a tool to say it's for you to get something for it. It's tracking you, your phones, and actually it is the Apple phone that is the worst. I'm not saying Androids are free.
Right.
But Apple does the worst job, and they track you on everything you do, even when the phone is off.
Well,
That's not conspiracy.
They have the new Apple has a brand new AI built into it.
Yeah.
But this is Google's. This is, if you have a phone, you can get this.
Yeah.
And you have to say yes to it. You would think if it was so great, just turn it on.
You accept their conditions.
You have to accept the conditions. You'll never read the conditions because they're pages of minute print that you'll never read, but you have to accept it to get this. And I'm sure people think, oh, this is free. Oh, this must be really fun. I'll try it. And you accept it, and all of a sudden you've given the devil permission.
Yeah, they build the want. Because we got the wantsies, and we like things, we're like crows. Things that are shiny and sparkle we want. So they build that want, and their need is to know what we're thinking because they have deeper, darker things that they're after. And that goes to your globalization and what's really out there. They are keeping tabs on us. And why would you keep tabs on somebody or something unless that what you're doing is so ripe and wrong that you've got to know who your enemies are and will be so you can stop them before they get to you.
Yeah, it's evil. Yeah.
Now, I've seen some disclaimers, and when it's really tiny to where you can't read it, or they do a summary, don't trust the summary. But there are some that say you have to accept the conditions to use this app because they are so damn sure that you want this app that you're willing to sell
your
soul.
Yep.
So just remember that you made a deal with the devil's right arm, if not him himself.
Over the weekend, I watched I, Robot, the movie starring Will Smith, and it was, I think, like 2004, and it was really good, and the graphics were right on the money. Even the imaginary robots looked like what they're making right now. They looked like the robots that you see the companies building. So I'm looking at this movie, and they're talking about all these advanced things in 2004 and thinking, in 2004, this was science fiction. This was stuff that...
It's reality now.
It's reality. Everything that they're talking about, we can do now.
I think that what we see, that they let us see, that's out there, and we think, oh, boy, our country's got all this stuff. Well, maybe it appears we have all this stuff, but whatever, has all this stuff. And it goes far beyond what we have knowledge of.
I agree. Well, as a matter of fact, Trump alluded to the fact in one of his recent comments to the media, maybe about a week and a half ago. He said, and I heard him say it, our weaponry, we have the most advanced weapons in the world. You can't imagine the stuff we have. Something along these lines. It's amazing. He said the most powerful, most advanced weaponry in the world. And I'm thinking he's not talking about just the planes that we see. He's talking about the stuff that we have no knowledge of.
Now, here's what I'm going to say for him, Hegseth, all of them, and Democrats too. They probably have no frickin' clue of what really exists that is on the drawing boards, has been developed, probably secretly being tested right now. You see a light in the sky and go, oh, I wonder what that is, a twinkly star. You don't know.
What are those things flying over New Jersey? Oh, what is that? Yes.
Yeah. You know, I mean, this is like a Bond movie, Dr. No. Like somebody going to sit there and rule the world in a secret hideaway and have all these things and have politicians and $1 million, okay.
Yeah, higher.
I'm sorry, but
yes,
Dr. No is bigger than the Dr. No you think I'm talking about.
And, Klaus Schwab, he answers to somebody. He's a
tool.
Exactly. He's a tool.
He's a tool, and I understand he's in trouble now because maybe he's outlasted his usefulness. So,
but you know what? You know what hasn't?
Mr. Schwab, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, we have places to take you, Mr. Schwab.
Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. Bye-bye.
Hey, if you want to try something really good that'll help you not choke up, try Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, will you? Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It is a delicious medium blend roast of coffee available only at our storefront, which is rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. It's delicious. I'd like to say it's nutritious. I don't know. It's coffee. What can I say? But it's delicious coffee, regular and decaf, medium blend roast. You got to try it.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Give it to your liberal friends. Invite them over for a coffee and sit. Just sneak them a cup, and it may change their whole opinion on life.
Delicioso. When going to Right Side Shop, go to rightsideshop.com because there you'll get to the store. And the reason I say that is we've made some changes with the platform. Yes, we're still on Podbean. We're on Spotify, Boom Radio, the whole 9 yards. But our website in the domain refers to one website that's associated with one of those names I mentioned. We are making a decision whether that domain will just be in and of itself and just go to the new streaming host and marketing host or whatnot. Haven't figured that out
yet. We're going through a bunch of
changes.
changes here. Well, it's just the way it is. We are growing in leaps and bounds, and in doing so, we have to make some adjustments. So
it's like, you've always had a 34 waist, and one day, you said, well, I'm going to have dessert tonight, and you wake up the next day, damn it, I got to go buy
looking like
36.
me.
They don't fit. 38, no!
Oh, no, 38. That was in 6th grade. Anyway, that's about it for this program. I just looked at the clock on the wall, Bill, and once again, we promised that we'd keep it shorter. It never happens. We really do, folks. Before the show starts, we have a little confab. Well, we could keep the show a little shorter, maybe. And
it never works.
It never
As a
works.
matter of fact, when we say we'll go longer, we go short. When we say we'll go short, we go long.
That's true.
And then we do this thing in our minds. We're going, we have this little confab before the show, and we talk about different things.
Yes.
Which is where our deep state thing came from something.
Got to talk about that tomorrow some more, though. I really believe there's a lot to discuss. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I would encourage people, whether you know us or don't, go ahead and get a hold of us at, mail at jimandbill.com or mail at itsanotherday.com. I'm just telling you, I like a lot of podcasters and radio people. I don't really check that email that much. I'm going to find a way to forward a lot of it to one funnel that I go to every day that I get 14,000 emails on. You think I'm kidding, and I'm making that number up, and I am not. And some people probably can relate. Go, what do? I do a peruse real quick, and if nothing really catches my eye,
actually, I should spend more
copy,
time.
I
should spend more time looking at those emails too.
We may have to get a secretary to do it, but right now,
Yes.
when we say we don't make money, that was a decision, and then we're going, well, maybe we ought to make money. That
Yes.
was a decision too, but that was just a recent decision.
Yeah, because there are expenses to doing this, folks. I'm not trying to cry on your shoulder, but we just had one yesterday, a renewal of a fee, and I'm not going to tell you how much or to whom, but it was a chunk of change out of nowhere, and I thought, Bill and I have thought, well, we've been pocketing these things ourselves for a while, and maybe it's time that we try to get some revenue, like a lot of podcasters do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, they make a lot more money than we'll ever make, and some of their shows are abysmal. You say, how does that happen? But anyway,
makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Anyway, my friend, if you would, you can take us out of here as you do so, as only you can do, okay?
The customary way is
Yes.
what you're asking for?
Yes.
Well, in that case, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.